What you are about to discover in the next few minutes contradicts everything they've taught you about aging. It's not about medicine. It's not about the gym. It's not about a miracle diet. It's about something that happens inside your cells every morning and that you are probably ignoring without knowing the cost of it. After the age of 60, your body begins to accumulate what scientists call zombie cells, old damaged cells that don't die, don't renew themselves, and just stay there, releasing silent inflammation that erodes your energy, your memory, your joints, and your vitality day after day without warning. And the disturbing detail, this process is happening right now inside of you. The good news is that science has identified natural, accessible compounds that can interrupt this cycle and awaken the cells responsible for your body's regeneration. And the most strategic moment to consume them is exactly the one you already have as a habit, your first cup of morning coffee. You are about to learn a specific combination of ingredients, each with scientific backing, that transforms your coffee into a powerful ally for cellular regeneration. But there is a detail about how to use this combination that most people are unaware of. And without this detail, half of the effect is lost. You will discover this detail right here today. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel now and hit the bell icon. Here we talk about health with depth and responsibility without fluff. Leave a like to help this content reach those who need it. And tell me in the comments, how old are you and what do you put in your coffee today? Sugar sweetener? Do you drink it black? Tell me. You might already be doing something right without knowing it, or missing a huge opportunity every morning. Imagine that your body is a huge city full of workers responsible for keeping everything running. Each cell has a function, a purpose, a lifespan. When young, these cells work, renew themselves, die at the right time, and give way to new, healthy cells. This cycle is perfect, it's elegant, it's what keeps the body vibrant and full of energy. But after the age of 60, something begins to change in this city, and the change is silent, invisible, and more dangerous than any symptom you've ever felt. Some cells stop working properly, stop renewing themselves, but also refuse to die. They stay there, taking up space, blocking the work of the healthy cells around them, and more seriously, releasing inflammatory substances that spread through the body like a toxic smoke that no one can see, but everyone feels. Scientists have given these cells a very precise name: senescent cells. But the name that has become popular in laboratories worldwide is even more expressive: zombie cells. Because that is exactly what they are: neither alive nor dead, and causing damage to everything around them. This low-grade chronic inflammation produced by zombie cells has its own scientific name: inflammaging, a fusion of the words inflammation and aging. And it is no coincidence that these two words are together, because researchers realize they are practically the same thing. The more accumulated zombie cells, the more inflammation. The more inflammation, the faster the aging of tissues, organs, the cardiovascular system, and the brain. Studies published in recent years show that inflammaging is directly associated with the development of diseases such as Alzheimer's, type 2 diabetes, osteoarthritis, heart problems, and even certain types of cancer. We are not talking about a distant scientific curiosity. We are talking about the mechanism behind that feeling that so many people over 60 describe with the same words. I wake up tired. My head isn't as sharp anymore. My body hurts for no apparent reason. I've lost the energy I used to have. This tiredness isn't laziness. This tiredness has a real, measurable, and here's the part that changes everything: reversible cellular cause. What most people don't know is that the human body has a natural defense system against these zombie cells. This system depends directly on stem cells, the true supervisors of cellular regeneration, and internal cleaning processes called autophagy and apoptosis, which are basically the mechanisms the body uses to identify damaged cells and eliminate them before they cause more damage. The problem is that after 60, these systems also begin to lose efficiency. Stem cells become less active, autophagy slows down, and the accumulation of zombie cells begins to exceed the body's ability to eliminate them. It is a battle the organism gradually loses unless you provide it with the right tools to turn the tide. And it is exactly about these tools that we are going to talk now, starting with the ingredient that has perhaps been in your kitchen for years, but whose true power you never imagined. If there is one ingredient that modern science has studied, tested, questioned, and finally had to admit the ancients were right about, that ingredient is turmeric. This intense golden yellow root, which grandparents used in the kitchen almost without thinking, hides within it a compound called curcumin. And curcumin is, according to research published in journals like Nature, Cancer Research, and dozens of other world renowned scientific periodicals, one of the natural compounds with the greatest anti inflammatory capacity ever identified in nature. This is no exaggeration. It is the result of more than 2 decades of serious scientific investigation conducted in laboratories at the University of Texas, the National Cancer Institute in the United States, and research centers in Japan and Europe, all reaching the same conclusion. Curcumin acts directly on the molecular pathways that activate chronic inflammation, that same silent inflammation that zombie cells produce and that deteriorates the body from within. And it does so naturally without the gastric and cardiovascular side effects that conventional anti-inflammatories cause, a detail especially important for those over 60 who know very well the damage that strong medications do to the stomach over time. But curcumin goes far beyond fighting inflammation. Clinical studies with humans have demonstrated that it has the ability to activate mesenchymal stem cells, a specific type of stem cell responsible for the regeneration of tissues, cartilage, bones, and organs. In research evaluated by the State University of Campinas, scientists identified that curcumin directly influences the expression of genes related to the differentiation of these cells, meaning it doesn't just reduce the inflammatory environment that stifles stem cells, it actively stimulates them to work. For a person over 60 whose stem cells are already naturally less active, this effect is extraordinary support for quality of life, mobility, injury recovery, and muscle mass maintenance. Furthermore, research published in the European Journal of Nutrition showed that curcumin improves insulin sensitivity and supports abdominal fat metabolism. That fat that settles in the abdomen area after 60 and is associated with serious cardiovascular and metabolic risks. A single root with multiple fronts of action, too powerful to be ignored. But here is the secret that completely transforms the effectiveness of turmeric, and that most people who already take turmeric are unaware of. Pure curcumin has extremely low absorption in the body. The stomach processes it quickly, and an insufficient amount actually reaches the bloodstream to produce the effects studies describe. It's like having the best fuel in the world, but with an engine that can barely use it. The solution, however, is simple and cheap: a pinch of black pepper. A study published in the journal Planta Medica demonstrated that piperine, the active compound in black pepper, increases curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. 2,000%. And if besides the pepper, you add a small amount of healthy fat, like half a teaspoon of coconut oil or a splash of whole milk, the absorption improves even further because curcumin is fat soluble, meaning it dissolves in and is transported by fat. Turmeric, black pepper, and a healthy fat, that is the triad. And the best place to combine it is exactly in your morning cup of coffee at the moment of the day when, as we will discover later, stem cells are naturally more receptive. But before that, there is another ingredient that deserves all your attention. There is an ingredient that Asian peoples have used for over 5,000 years, which medieval navigators carried on their ships as a luxury item, which grandmothers of past generations put in tea when someone was unwell, and which modern science took centuries to understand in depth. But when it did, it was impressed. Ginger contains active compounds called gingerols and shogaols, and these compounds have anti-inflammatory properties that research published in the Journal of the Science of Food and Agriculture compared favorably to some pharmaceutical anti-inflammatories with a fundamental difference without the gastric side effects that so often harm older adults. But what makes ginger especially relevant for those over 60 goes beyond fighting inflammation. Studies published in the journal Metabolism demonstrated that the compounds in ginger increase thermogenesis, the body's ability to generate heat through metabolism, which in practice means the organism starts burning more calories, even at rest. For a person over 60 whose metabolism has naturally slowed down and whose body composition has changed over time, this effect represents genuine and scientifically backed support for maintaining a healthy weight, preserving muscle mass, and maintaining energy throughout the day. But the effect of ginger that most impresses researchers and that has a direct impact on quality of life after 60 is its power over blood circulation. With aging, blood vessels lose elasticity, blood flow becomes less efficient, and the consequences appear in ways many people normalize without realizing. Cold extremities, tingling in the hands and feet, joint pain that worsens with the cold, mental fatigue in the middle of the afternoon, that heavy head feeling that appears for no apparent reason. All of this can be directly related to compromised circulation. The gingerols present in ginger act as natural vasodilators. They relax the walls of the blood vessels, improve blood flow, and ensure that oxygen and nutrients reach every tissue, every organ, and every cell of the body more efficiently. A well-perfused brain thinks better. Well-perfused joints inflame less. A heart with good circulation works with less effort. It is a ripple effect that starts in the vessels and spreads throughout the body. And it starts with something as simple as half a teaspoon of powdered ginger in your cup of coffee. And there is a detail about ginger that very few people know and that connects this ingredient directly to the central theme of this video: stem cells. Preliminary research conducted at biotechnology centers in the UK and South Korea identified that the bioactive compounds in ginger can stimulate the proliferation of adipose-derived stem cells, a type of stem cell present throughout the body that plays a fundamental role in soft tissue regeneration, immune system modulation, and systemic inflammation control. In other words, ginger doesn't just fight inflammation from the outside. It may be at the same time activating the cells responsible for repairing what inflammation damaged. When combined with turmeric and black pepper in the same cup of coffee, the synergistic effect is even more potent because the two ingredients act on complementary fronts of the same process. And while you process this information, know that the next ingredient seems like the simplest of all, but holds a surprise that most people would never expect from something so common in any pantry in the world. Of all the ingredients we are presenting in this video, cinnamon is probably the one that surprises people the most, because everyone knows it, everyone has used it, but almost no one imagines what it actually does inside the body. Real cinnamon, known as Ceylon cinnamon, contains a compound called cinnamaldehyde, and this compound does something that few natural ingredients can do. It acts similarly to insulin, helping the body's cells absorb sugar from the blood much more efficiently. Several clinical studies with humans found significant reductions in fasting glucose levels in people who consume Ceylon cinnamon regularly. And this is especially relevant after 60 because as we age, insulin sensitivity naturally decreases, creating a metabolic environment that favors the development of prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. Chronically high sugar doesn't hurt, it doesn't show in the mirror, but it silently damages blood vessels, nerves, kidneys, and eyes in a way that, by the time symptoms appear, the damage has already been done for years. Cinnamon is a simple, accessible tool with scientific backing to help maintain this metabolic balance that the body loses over time. But what truly puts cinnamon on a different level and connects this ingredient directly to brain health after 60 are its neuroprotective properties. Researchers studying Alzheimer's identified that certain compounds in cinnamon can inhibit the aggregation of tau and beta amyloid proteins in the brain, exactly the proteins that accumulate abnormally in the plaques characteristic of the disease. These studies, conducted in laboratory models and preliminary clinical investigations, showed that cinnamon compounds can help protect neurons from the type of oxidative damage that precedes cognitive decline. For a person over 60 who sometimes forgets where they put their keys, who feels their memory is less sharp than before, who notices a slowness in thinking that didn't exist 10 years ago, this is not abstract data. It is information that has the potential to change a decision made tomorrow morning in front of a cup of coffee. And small decisions made every day are exactly what separate a painful aging process from aging with vitality and mental clarity. There is also a third angle to cinnamon that deserves attention: its antimicrobial and antifungal effect, which supports the immune system at a time in life when it naturally loses part of its efficiency. After 60, the immune system enters a process called immunosenescence. It becomes slower to respond, more prone to letting through threats it would have previously eliminated with ease. Cinnamon, by offering a natural barrier against microorganisms and reducing the body's inflammatory load, relieves some of the work the immune system needs to do, freeing up resources so it can focus on what really matters: protecting, repairing, and regenerating. Half a teaspoon of powdered Ceylon cinnamon in your morning coffee. Simple as that. But be careful. Do not confuse Ceylon cinnamon with cassia, which is sold as cinnamon in many markets and which, consumed in large quantities, can overwork the liver. True cinnamon has a lighter color, a finer texture, a milder flavor, and that is the one we want. Another ingredient in the right place at the right time. And the next one we are going to present is the one that most divides opinions, but whose science, once you understand the mechanism, makes total sense. Coconut oil is probably the most controversial ingredient on this list. For years, it was demonized for containing saturated fat, then it was glorified as a superfood, and many people were left in the middle of this confusion, not knowing what to think. But when you understand the specific mechanism by which coconut oil acts in the body of a person over 60, the controversy loses strength and what remains is science. Coconut oil contains medium chain fatty acids, known by the acronym MCTs, and these are a type of fat that the body processes completely differently from others. Instead of being stored as body fat, MCTs are converted almost immediately by the liver into compounds called ketones. And ketones are an alternative energy source that the brain can use directly, efficiently, and quickly. For most young people, this is interesting. For a person over 60, this can be transformative because the aging brain, and especially the brain at risk of cognitive decline, often develops a progressive difficulty in using glucose as its primary fuel. Ketones enter through a different door, bypass this problem, and deliver energy directly to the nerve cells that need it most. Research conducted by scientists at universities in Canada, Japan, and Brazil, in addition to the pioneering work of researcher Dr. Mary Newport, showed observable improvements in the cognitive function of older adults with mild to moderate cognitive decline after incorporating MCTs into their diet. It's not a cure, it's not a miracle, but it is real, measurable support for a brain that is struggling to maintain its efficiency in a metabolic environment that has become less favorable over the years. And there is a second, equally important mechanism. Preliminary studies demonstrated that MCTs can stimulate the production of neurotrophic factors, proteins that feed, protect, and keep nerve cells healthy, functioning like a specific fertilizer for brain tissue. In the context of aging, where the production of these factors naturally declines, offering the body a compound that stimulates their production is a strategy that makes sense from both a scientific and practical standpoint. And there is still a third reason to include coconut oil specifically in your breakfast coffee with turmeric, a reason we already mentioned briefly, but that deserves to be said explicitly now. Curcumin is fat soluble. It needs fat to be absorbed efficiently by the body. When you combine turmeric with coconut oil in the same cup, you are creating the ideal environment for curcumin to cross the intestinal barrier enter the bloodstream, and reach the cells where its anti-inflammatory and regenerative effects can actually happen. One ingredient enhances the other. One small teaspoon of coconut oil in the coffee. If it feels a bit heavy on the stomach at first, start with half a teaspoon and increase gradually over 2 weeks. The body adapts, and when it adapts, it starts using this fuel with surprising efficiency. We still have one more fundamental ingredient to present, and this is the one that literally builds the scaffolding your stem cells need to work. Collagen is the most abundant protein in the human body. It is in absolutely everything in the skin, cartilage, bones, tendons, blood vessels, organs. It is literally the structure that holds the organism together, the framework upon which everything else rests. And from the age of 30, the body begins to produce less collagen progressively, but it is after 60 that this loss accelerates dramatically, and the signs appear on several fronts at the same time. The skin loses firmness and wrinkles more easily. The joints begin to ache because the cartilage protecting them wears away. The bones become more fragile. Recovery from any injury becomes slower, and the body loses that feeling of physical integrity that was once so natural it wasn't even noticed. Hydrolyzed collagen powder is a form of collagen processed in a way that the body can absorb much more easily than the collagen present in food. Studies published in the Journal of Arthritis and the British Journal of Nutrition found significant reductions in joint pain, improvement in bone density, and greater skin elasticity in older adults who supplemented with hydrolyzed collagen regularly and consistently, not for days, but for months. But what connects collagen directly to the central theme of this video, however, goes beyond the structural benefits everyone already knows. Mesenchymal stem cells, those responsible for regenerating cartilage, connective tissue, and bones, do not work in a vacuum. They need an adequate physical environment to attach, multiply, and differentiate into new tissues. This environment is called the extracellular matrix, and collagen is the main component of this matrix. When the body is deficient in collagen, stem cells are left without the scaffolding they need to perform their regenerative function. It's like trying to build a house without a structure, without beams, without a foundation. By offering hydrolyzed collagen regularly, you are literally rebuilding the scaffolding, creating the physical conditions so that your stem cells can settle in, work, and regenerate the tissues that time has worn down. 1 tablespoon of unflavored hydrolyzed collagen in your morning coffee. It dissolves completely in hot liquids, barely changes the flavor at all, and the body absorbs it with maximum efficiency when consumed in the morning on an empty stomach or after a light breakfast. And now, with all the ingredients presented, it is important to understand that we are not talking about 5 isolated elements. We are talking about a system. Turmeric reduces inflammation and activates stem cells. Ginger improves circulation and metabolism. Cinnamon balances blood sugar and protects neurons. Coconut oil provides alternative fuel for the brain and enhances curcumin absorption. Collagen builds the environment stem cells need to work. Each ingredient covers a different angle of the same process, and together in the same cup at a specific time of day, they create a synergy that none of them could achieve alone. But there is one factor that ties all of this together that determines whether this combination will actually transform your health or remain just an interesting piece of information you heard once. And that factor is what we are going to reveal now. First and foremost, it is fundamental to make it clear everything shared in this video is exclusively for informative and educational purposes. No information here replaces the evaluation of a healthcare professional. Each person is unique, has their own clinical history, specific conditions, and medications, and it is your trusted doctor who knows your reality deeply enough to guide the best choices for your case. Always consult a professional before starting any change in your diet or health routine. If you have made it this far, I want you to know that this means a lot. In a world where attention is worth gold and where everything competes for your time, you chose to invest these minutes in what really matters: your health, your body, your quality of life. And this apparently simple gesture reveals something about who you are. A person who still believes it is possible to live better, who refuses to accept decline as an inevitable destiny, who understands that taking care of oneself is an act of love for yourself and for everyone who depends on your presence and your vitality. Science is clear. Aging does not have to be synonymous with deterioration. The stem cells are still there. The capacity for regeneration still exists. The human body, when it receives the right tools in an environment with less inflammation, better circulation, and proper nutrients, responds. Not overnight, but it responds. And the factor that determines if this response will happen has a simple name without glamour, without secrets: consistency. One enriched cup of coffee every morning, a habit built day after day, a choice repeated with patience and faith in the process. This is what separates those who talk about taking care of their health from those who actually do it. And you, who stayed until the end of this video, have already taken the first step. If this content made sense to you, leave your like now. This simple gesture helps this video reach more people who need this information and who might never find it otherwise. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell, because every week there is new content on health, longevity, and well-being, always with responsibility, always based on science, always thinking of you. And share this video with someone you love, a family member, a friend, someone over 55 who deserves to know what was said here today. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give someone doesn't fit in a box, it fits in a link. See you in the next video.